What's going on YouTube? This is Steve Class here at New England Property Management. Today I want to speak about a little bit how to buy a home at a sheriff's sale. Right before I get into all that good stuff though, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Every single week we're going to be coming out with more real estate investor tips and property management tips. And it's going to be a wealth of knowledge for any new investors, even seasoned investors, of how to get into the game. So what exactly is a home auction or a sheriff's sale? That's going to be step one. And this is going to be a 10-step video. So everyone loves a 10-step program. So a sheriff's sale is when a home has a mortgage on it and the debt hasn't been paid on for a number of months, and they've gone through the process of trying to negotiate with the seller. Whatever reason, maybe a short sale didn't work out, so this property has a scheduled date and it's going to go to an auction. And the auction is exactly how you see it in films and different movies. You sit there and usually in a courtroom office and you're bidding on the property with little panels. It's really, really fun and cool. I urge you to go check one out before you ever bid on one, just to see what the process is. The second step is to know your county. Just because every single county has their own processes and procedures of how they go about it. Typically what you can see is on the county's website, you'll see a list of all the properties that are going to be going to auction on that specific date, along with the addresses. And typically they'll also disclose what lawyer is representing the bank, which is very, very key. We'll get into that a little bit later, along with obviously the amount owed. Now it doesn't show that all the time. Typically you'll just show you the property address, and it's up to you to kind of do your homework and find out. What I like to do, and this is kind of like an insider scoop, is go through a list. I literally go through it line item by line item, and I input that data into, say, a Zillow or a Trulia, and I pull up the property record. If it was an attempted short sale, you'll see all that data in there. And if you get lucky, you'll be able to see exactly what the interior of the property looks like, because a realtor had got in there and taken some photos. So that's a huge leg up on the competition, because generally you're not going to be able to see what the property looks like on the inside. So I would say step 3, go to Zillow and scope out some of these properties. Do a street view, see how the neighborhood looks just from the street view, and from there you'll be able to get an idea of what you're looking for. From there, what I would do is step 4 is to do a quick 10 property short list. Find out exactly the properties that kind of match your criteria, what the potential comps are. Make a short list of 10. Typically the properties going to auction is going to be a kind of a long, significant list, so really narrow down that search. What I also like to see, and sometimes you can see this on the Google Street View or even on Zillow, is if the property is vacant or not. I personally will not buy a property that's tenant occupied, just because that's going to delay the whole process for months and months. And if you have to go through eviction, it can get very emotional, and you're really looking for a quick ROI on this. So I always look for vacant properties. I want to see the photos of what they look like on the inside, because that's a leg up, and sometimes you get lucky and Zillow will have that data, or Realtor.com will have that data, and you'll be able to kind of like narrow down that list to that quick little 10. Once you have the list of 10, the next step is going to be title search. So what a title search is going to do is it's going to search the town records to see how many liens are on the property. Guaranteed there's a mortgage lien, since it is going to auction, but you also want to see if there's a mechanics lien on it, meaning that if someone sued the person, they put a lien on the home, it's called a second lien. If there's maybe a HELOC that someone opened on the property, it's also a second lien. The priority lien, and these are the ones you want to avoid, is a tax lien. They take priority, they get paid first, and they live with the property. I always want to look to see just having a mortgage lien. I typically don't dabble in all these other liens, just because it can convolute the situation a little bit. So do that title search. You can hire a title abstractor. That's all they do. It can be $100 to $200. It's not too bad. You can also go to your local real estate attorney. They'll charge you a little bit more, probably like $250, $300, and they'll do a search for you as well. I'll give you a general sense of what's happening with the property kind of behind the scenes, and whether it still matches your criteria, if it's worth going into. So the next step here, this is going to be step 6. I don't have too much room because I'm cheap, and I have this little tiny whiteboard. The next step is going to be calling the lawyers representing the banks. So a bank is going to hire an attorney to kind of represent them at the day of the auction. The most important question I ask is, what is their upset price? Now, what an upset price is how much the bank is willing to take at the bare minimum to actually purchase the home. Sometimes they don't disclose it, but it's always worth the phone call to see what it is, so you can get into your head a little bit. Okay, well, they're willing to take $110,000. I know that that's out of my league because I only have $90,000. I'm not even going to be bothered to bid on this home and let people go into a bidding war with it. Or, oh wow, they're going to start at $50,000. That's great. This kind of stay on my list and keep it on the radar. The next step here, so step 7, is going to be getting certified checks and your money in order. Certified checks. I'm not going to go into the finance in this video of how you're actually going to be purchasing it. I'm going to assume that you have either the cash on hand to do it, because it is a cash auction, or you're opening up, say, a HELOC or a line of credit to purchase it. That'll be a separate video. But assuming you have it, typically the county requires anywhere from 10 to 15% due on the day of the auction. So what I like to do is, let's say I have 3 homes I want to bid on that time, and they're all different values. Say one's $250,000, one's $100,000. I'll make out 3 separate certified checks made out to the county. I would say $10,000 or $5,000 each, and use that towards the purchase of the actual home. That way, if let's just say you buy a property for, I don't know, $100,000, and you have a $15,000 check only, now you're just contributing more to the final purchase of the home, which is fine since you're going to have to come up with the money anyway. But it's helpful just to come up with the 10%. And let's say you're pooling money from other investors, you typically have a 30-day window to come up with the rest of the money to buy the home for cash. So get those checks in order beforehand. Now, the day before auction, what I would also do is create a short list of the properties. So create a short list. Because through the title searches, through the upset bids, through all this stuff, that 10 property search is going to get even narrowed down. Create a cheat sheet. So the day of, you can kind of quickly look, okay, property is on 500 Main Street. The max bid will be $150,000. And I know that it's vacant. Things like that, so it's a quick little reference because the auction happens very, very quickly, and you're going to want to have that information kind of safe at hand. Now, the day of the auction, do your drive-by, nice and early. So, terrible handwriting, like a 5th grader, I know. Do your drive-by and check out the actual properties. Make sure they're vacant, because that's my criteria, is to make sure that there's nobody living in there. See if there's any debris buildup, see if there's any cracks in the foundation. Is there potential water damage? It's tough to see from the outside, but again, if you did your homework, you can maybe get a little bit of a sense of how it is. And what I like to do is always contact the neighbors. Knock on their doors. Don't be ashamed to do it. Just ask, like, hey, who's lived here? When did they move? What's going on with this? Is there any information you can kind of give me? Did people live there? Were they like nice people? Would they seem to be hoarders? And you can almost build up a narrative to see like who was actually in there prior, and to come up with an idea of is this even worth it? Were they hoarders? Did they have pit bulls? Because now you can, okay, if they had dogs, they were hoarders, chances are this place is a disaster on the inside. Which is fine if you buy the house at the right price, but it's good to always know this information ahead of time. Now, the most important part is do not get emotional at the actual auction. No emotion. No budget. So during the bidding process, you're going to see a lot of people kind of raising their flag, getting into it, and all of a sudden, you say your max bid is $100,000, it's going to be at $98,000, and you were the last one, and the guy comes in $102, and like, you know what, I really want this property, $105, let's do it. So it's going to be $105,000, and you know, you're all amped up, and you kind of bid for it. You just bid $5,000 over your max budget. The ROI is always very tight. You always have to think of that, because and then especially in a home auction when you purchase it, you never know what's going to be inside when you buy that home. So always really, really stick to your guns and never go over that max bid, because it's going to typically come to bite you in the butt. Hopefully, if you follow these steps, you know, you're going to buy your first property at auction. I'd love to hear some feedback of people who actually implemented this, who purchased homes. Please comment below. Looking forward to hearing from all of you. I hope this video was helpful for everyone. Please, again, if you found this information helpful, subscribe and like this video. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.